7:09 now, and Labor Day means the presidential campaigns are entering their proverbial home stretch. Political analyst Dallas Jones joins us this morning to talk about that. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Tom.
Both candidates in Ohio, traditionally a battleground state, and I used to work there, and Labor Day you could count on everybody being there.
Well, as the saying goes, so goes Ohio, so goes the presidency. And so it's going to be, as it always has been, an important state, the Buckeye State, for both campaigns.
So not far away from Ohio is Michigan. Donald Trump was there in Detroit appealing directly with the African-American community. I thought maybe some awkward imagery in some cases. What'd you think?
Well, I thought that it's important that Donald Trump tried to at least recover from some of his kind of blunders with the African-American community over the last couple of weeks. And so it was an attempt to do that. The black church has always been one of the most welcoming institutions in the country. And so it seemed a bit awkward. But as I shared with someone, if it were Hillary Clinton in that church, I think we would probably not feel as awkward about it. And so, you know, he should be talking to these voters.
Yes, and this was certainly a response to please talk with us, not at us.
Right. As you saw, if you saw the clip, it was very scripted. He read directly from a manuscript. He did not go off the cuff at all.
Let's make sure I say exactly what we want to say.
Let's make sure I don't say anything. Okay. And I'm sure he found somebody in his camp that's African-American to write that script for him.
One of his tour guides there and a former opponent, Ben Carson, from the Detroit area, he was on Fox News Sunday and had this to say. Let's listen to this first.
Yeah.
The Republican Party has not made an extensive outreach to certain communities, including the African-American community, because they've pretty much written that off as Democrat territory. Donald Trump is changing that narrative and is really starting to talk about this in a very serious way. And I've had many discussions with him about it. He becomes very animated during those discussions, and this is a subject about which he cares deeply.
What do you think?
Well, I think, you know, Donald Trump is definitely trying to make an appeal to African-American voters. I don't think that he's necessarily the candidate that is going to do that shift in thought and party where African-Americans traditionally vote Democratic Party based on a lot of the policy positions, values, and kind of historical reference. You know, a lot of times you'll hear Republicans talk about being the party of Lincoln, and so there's a lot that has happened since Lincoln that has caused a dramatic shift in African-Americans to the Democratic Party, and I'm not sure that Trump is the poster child for winning that community.
Well, he's got a lot of work ahead of him, obviously, but we talk a lot about Donald Trump here because we just have not seen Hillary Clinton much at all. A couple private events, but nothing much on the campaign trail, at least until today, because of the email stories continuing to trickle out to some degree. How much is that hurting her, you think?
Well, I'm not sure that it's completely hurting her, considering the alternative, and she's kind of stepped back and allowed Donald Trump to kind of do his thing, hoping that the email scandal will not continue to, you know, become a deficit to her campaign. But essentially, it has been, particularly for the press and in some instances for the public, like Waldo, where's Hillary?
It's not a flattering image portrayed by this email trail and the conversations about it.
Well, it continues the idea that the American public has a general distrust for Secretary Clinton. And so, you know, again, at some point, those emails are going to come front and center because neither of these candidates can hide from the presidential debates that are quickly approaching.
In fact, there's going to be a presentation not together face-to-face, but one right after another tomorrow night. It'll be interesting to see how they respond to that. Dallas Jones, as always, we appreciate it.
Great to see you.
Rita?